welcome to the channel. My name is Jay, and today we're back in Jurassic World Evolution, and we're back in Nublar Emergent Biopark. Today we're going to be adding in probably the star of the show for a lot of people, but not necessarily for this park, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, probably the most famous of all dinosaurs. I shouldn't even say probably, it is definitely the most famous of all dinosaurs. But today we're going to be introducing a biologically accurate version of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now, this version comes complete with lips covering the teeth, much more accurate head shape, non-pronated arms, generally better proportions, a longer tail than we already had in the game. And it was created, let me just quickly have a look, this particular mod was created by the user Digital Duck on the Nexus, and it is based specifically off the specimen known as Sue the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is the single most complete specimen of Tyrannosaurus we have ever discovered, ever. And I believe she's also one of the largest specimens. I believe there might be a couple other fossils a bit bigger, but she is, generally speaking, the go-to specimen for T.rex just because she is so complete, so beautifully preserved, and just generally she is kind of the model specimen for T.rex. And today what we're going to be doing is building a habitat for our specific Tyrannosaurus, which is going to be just the one. We're going to keep it solitary, and she's going to get a nice habitat just beneath where this aviary is. Once again, sticking with that idea of having all the dinosaurs from the same place and time in a similar location. So on the left side of the park, what we have had so far are the Ankylosaurus and the Pachycephalosaurus and the Edmontosaurus and the Torosaurus. Essentially all animals from the Hell Creek Formation from the late Cretaceous, which is also where the Tyrannosaurus is from. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is just finishing up this section of the park with the T-Rex. It's going to be the Hell Creek Formation part of the park, essentially. And I'm really happy with how this one turned out. It is, again, a huge enclosure, which is completely understandable. When you're talking about apex predators, even in zoos in real life, you do tend to give them as large an enclosure as possible. Apex predators don't do well in confined spaces. And I'm going to keep it relatively straightforward. I'm not going to make it look like a high security prison or something like some people tend to do with the base game T-Rexes, because obviously in the movies, in the franchise, Tyrannosaurus is always seen as this kind of huge, terrifying monster that's capable of breaking through concrete walls and stuff like that. But in real life, at the end of the day, it is an animal. And while the movie depiction, I can completely understand why you want to treat the base game Tyrannosaurus in that sort of manner for thematic purposes, but when it comes to a more realistic version, at the end of the day, it's kind of just a really large grizzly bear, probably, in terms of how it lived, how it behaved. Maybe not so much a bear, maybe a big cat, perhaps, like a really large Siberian tiger or something. But obviously you can't make direct analogies because obviously it's completely different time, completely different ecosystems. But if you give it a big enough habitat, if you give it food, it's not likely to, ram its head into a concrete wall trying to escape. But, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. Anyways, the habitat itself, like I said, is quite large. I wanted it to be less grassy than the other one, so a lot of it is sand and rock. And once again, it has a viewing platform that kind of is on a higher point, so it looks down into the habitat, and I think that works out really well as well. It looks really nice. As for the fencing, I kept it pretty straightforward, the usual barred fencing, and then I added a bit of concrete as well, which you can see right now. And as per usual, I'm covering up most of the fencing with forest so that you can't really see it. And I think it looks pretty good. A lot of rocks in this part of the park, as you may notice. I wanted to keep it looking quite mountainous and quite hilly. And again, messing around with the path design as well, which is something that took me a while. And once again, when we get into the live play section, you're going to notice that I have changed it again because I am never satisfied with my path work. But anyways, we're coming to the end now, and I'll see you in a second in the live play version. Enjoy this shot of our gorgeous Tyrannosaurus emerging from the hatchery. See you in a sec. Alright everyone, here we are in the game itself. This is my second time recording this actually, because I recorded an entire voiceover without recording the game itself. Which turned out remarkably poorly, as you can imagine. Anyways, here's the top of the hill. You can tell I've changed up the path structure a little bit once again. So you do have this kind of zipper structure that very vaguely resembles DNA. Very vaguely. Like, I want this to be like some weird modern art thing that doesn't really resemble what it's supposed to in any sort of state. And yeah, if you go down here, you can tell I've made a few changes to the path here as well. There's a couple of that similar sort of banding. Just adding that. I've just added that there. I do apologize for the lag. My game is struggling, as you might be able to tell. Anyways, yeah, if you come up here, you might enter via the monorail and walk up here and turn left, or if you come up the path, you have to turn right, and you come around and you enter the viewing gallery here. And if you look down, here is our T.rex kind of valley area, and there she is, eating from her feeder. What a beauty she is. Got a gorgeous dinosaur. I love the model that Digital Duck has created for this really realistic Tyrannosaurus. And she's actually approaching now, I think. She's climbing up the hill. But yeah, this valley, I want it to be quite sparsely grassed, so there's just a bit of grass here and there, mostly sand and rock. And wow, there she is. I love how this animal looks. It just looks like a real animal, and I love that so much. Of course, I know the Jurassic Park Tyrannosaurus is an iconic kind of movie character, but at the end of the day, I would love for them to depict the animals as more like, you know, actual animals, which is kind of what the first movie succeeded so well at doing. Let's have a close-up look at her. And she is stunning. She absolutely is. I love this skin. This is actually a skin that came with the base game. It is the coastal skin, and I love the little red markings around the face. It really reminds me of a lot of modern-day birds. Oh, there she goes roaring. But yeah, I just think she's an absolute stunner. As far as dinosaurs go, the T.rex is obviously the single most, famous dinosaur there is, so the thing is though, despite it being so well known and so well preserved, like this model is based off the Sioux specimen, which is the most complete Tyrannosaurus specimen known. But even then, because even though we have so many like perfectly preserved T-rexes, you don't see very many actually realistic T-rex depictions in media. One of the most realistic ones right now is in the game Saurian, which is in early access, I believe. The goal of that game is to create the most kind of realistic look at the Hell Creek Formation, which is where this guy and all of the other dinosaurs in this part of the park are from. So I would definitely recommend checking out that game. It looks pretty cool. You get to play as a dinosaur and wander around that ecosystem, and it looks like a lot of fun. But yeah, they have, I think the artist RJ Palmer was working with them. I think he goes by the username Arvalis on a lot of sites, but he's created the single most realistic reconstruction of Tyrannosaurus, or the single most accurate, I should say, as of right now. It's a very famous picture, and again, it lines up quite well with this depiction here. One thing I love is the fact that it has lips and the teeth aren't exposed. Again, that's up for debate. We don't really 100% know, but I think it just looks more realistic. Oh my, she is roaring a lot in this video. But here's the thing, right? I don't think that having a dinosaur be more accurate or more realistic takes away from the majesty or the awe of the animal itself. That's an argument a lot of people make, is that, oh, Jurassic Park can't make dinosaurs realistic because then they wouldn't be scary, or they wouldn't be cool or frightening or anything like that. Here's my argument. Like, making something look more realistic in any form of cinema or television, I think only helps to heighten the emotions that you intend to convey, because there is a greater sense of believability and a greater sense of the ability to suspend disbelief, to make things a bit more clearer. But yeah, I think having realistic animals just kind of, I don't know, it really helps. For example, if you have a grizzly bear charging at you, you're going to be terrified, even though it is a real animal. But then again, you can also find grizzly bears super cute and majestic and beautiful, because they're a real animal and they have all these different features to them. And because they're so real, you can understand and you can really... I don't know how to explain this super well, but your emotions resonate a lot better with it. With a dinosaur, if you dress it up like a movie monster and give it, spikes and like weird shapes and structures to make it look scarier or to make it look more like a character, you kind of lose that, I think. If you have a dinosaur that looks more like a real animal or looks more like how it would have looked in real life, I think that would only serve to help the purposes of whatever piece of media you're putting it in. But yeah, anyway, that's my 2 cents on that whole thing. Back to the animal in question here. I can't say enough good things about it. That is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Tyrannosaurus Rex. And she's just enjoying life, enjoying her new habitat, kind of scouting out the area, and looking good. As you can tell, it's very much similar to how I've set out the other habitats. Big empty area in the middle, forest on the outside. This time with obviously a lot more sand and rock, just to give it more barren of a look. But I don't know if I'll actually have just the one Tyrannosaurus or whether I'll add a second one. Right now I'm happy with just the one. But in real life we don't know if they were solitary. We have found remains of Tyrannosaurus groups, so we're not sure if they maybe would have formed small packs or family groups. It's all kind of up in the air and we're not super sure about it. Again, I am super sorry for the lag. I know that it can get a bit distracting. But hopefully the cinematics at the end will make up for it. I've got a lot for you, and I think they look really cool. But yeah, now we've actually finished up this part of the park. So right here, and along the left side, you can see that we finished up the late Cretaceous part, which has all the North American animals from the late Cretaceous, the Tyrannosaurus, the Torosaurus, and the Montosaurus, the Pachycephalosaurus, and the Ankylosaurus. Moving on, we're going to be doing in our Jurassic North America section up here with all our big sauropods and stuff. And from there, of course, I mentioned we're going to do a Cretaceous China and then a Cretaceous Africa part. And I've decided where these Metriacanthosaurus are, I will make a sort of a smaller European dinosaur section. And that will kind of complete the park, I think, and that will kind of complete my list of realistic dinosaurs I want to add. So I'm looking forward to that. One issue that I currently have is what to do with the monorail. Because obviously I want it to transport people, and I want to include a section of buildings here where the small pond is. But I don't want to ruin this view. Like, I want it to look like that. When you look from over here, I want it to look that good. So I don't know if I want to run the monorail along the outside. I might end up running it along the inside instead. But of course we'll have to see what the best option is as we go along. But yeah, this is such a nice vista that I don't really want to ruin it, so we'll see what I end up doing. But also, one thing to note, we'll probably start using less of the redwood since I wanted like this half of the map, the left half to be quite forested, but the right half to be a lot more sparse, so I'll use fewer and fewer redwoods, I think, and more of these kind of lower lying plants. But yeah, that is it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, if you want to leave any suggestions, or if you want to see more content from me. And yeah, take care everyone, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!